Pharrell is never brave enough to go fully in the water at that point, but he waits at the top of the little slope for Wilson to come out and just jumps on him the moment he comes out of the water every single time. Friday morning. Good morning, everybody. Feeling a little bit woolly around the edges this morning because Claire and I were in central London last night for date night. Had a lovely dinner out together. It was really nice. I always think it's a really important part of a relationship. We've been together a long time now. If you don't have dedicated date nights, it's very easy just to sort of slip into this whole normality and this whole very comfortable and what can be pretty boring life together. So we've always made sure we absolutely dedicate a date night every now and again, whenever we can, get a babysitter and just go out and do something cool. So last night was really great. Had a great night in Soho, which on a summer's evening, Soho, probably my favourite part of London in the summer. Love it, absolutely love it to bits. It was great. Pharrell's like a really annoying little brother sometimes to Wilson. Don't get me wrong, he loves it, but one of those pesky little annoying siblings. Come on, Wilson, how are you going to get out of there? Well, obviously I'm not at the German Grand Prix this year. In fact, no one was at the German Grand Prix last year either, so it's been a couple of years since we've been. I'm not doing this particular one with Sky, but I did speak to somebody at the track yesterday, and there are a few stories emerging from the paddock this week. Obviously the biggest one is probably Lewis Hamilton signing that 2-year contract extension, something that's been talked about for a while. It was never going to be more than 2 years. No driver at this stage, and this is the problem, I guess, with Formula One right now. No driver, no team, no supplier, nobody within the world of Formula One is keen to commit beyond the end of 2020 because no one knows what Formula One will look like in 2021 and beyond yet, because this whole new commercial agreement, the whole technical structure or sporting structure, everything has the potential to change for 2021, and yet there's nothing written down in terms of regulations or nothing that anybody can commit to. So it's quite a difficult time for everybody. Teams are trying to secure drivers, and yet they don't want to be signing up to something that they've no idea what it will involve in 2021. So a 2-year deal for Lewis. Fully expect today to get confirmation that Valtteri Bottas will also be retained by Mercedes, which is the natural kind of progression. I think that's a good move. Keep continuity with the team. Those two drivers work very well together. Lewis is Lewis. We know what we get with Lewis. Valtteri has just got to get the consistency right and a bit of luck. And he's a great teammate. He's a great driver for that Mercedes brand. Ticks lots of the right boxes commercially. And in terms of being, a talented racing driver, he has it all as well. I think he's got everything that they need. So it makes absolute sense that they would keep both of those drivers on the books. What it also does is lock up a bit more of the driver merry-go-round for next season. And I guess what we're mainly referring to is the Daniel Ricciardo situation. That really only leaves Daniel Ricciardo with an option at perhaps Ferrari. Can't see that happening, and therefore much more likely and highly expected that he will confirm that he's staying at Red Bull Racing alongside Max Verstappen. So the pieces just starting to fall into place now. I thought it was interesting that Lewis said he wasn't talking to any other Formula One teams when making the decision of whether to re-sign at Mercedes. This took a long time to get this deal done, but it wasn't because he was playing them off against another team. He says he did have an approach from another team. I suspect that it's highly likely that team would have been Ferrari with a speculative approach, but he didn't entertain it. And so what that kind of tells me is that because this took a long time to get this deal done between him and Mercedes, and it wasn't that there were, he was weighing up his options in terms of other teams, as I say. So it kind of tells me that it was weighing up his options as to whether he wanted to stay in Formula One or not, I suspect. Was he going to commit to another 2 years of driving a Formula One car every other week? Or did he want to pursue other things? We've already seen him release music out into the world publicly for the first real time on that Christina Aguilera track. Although he hasn't really announced it himself, we all know that it's him. We all know that he is heavily involved in a music scene that he loves and that he thinks he's pretty good at and that he's got a talent at. And undoubtedly that we will all see more of at some point in the future. So, was his mind torn between starting to pursue other things in music, fashion, whatever else he thinks he might like to get involved with? Was he torn between that and committing to being a racing driver? Something that he's already ticked an awful lot of boxes in a glittering career with championships and records being broken all the time. So I think that was what was probably going on in the turmoil in his mind, in terms of, I don't know if it was turmoil, but that was probably the decision that he had to make. And ultimately, he's made the decision that he will be around for the next 2 years. So great news for Lewis Hamilton fans, great news for Formula One fans, and definitely great news for Mercedes. Right then, on to... No. Wait. Be careful, both of you. Right, well, on today's agenda is Rex is going off to the Farnborough Air Show, which is not very far away from us, with his couple of his buddies from school. I'm going to try and prise Leo out of bed because he's still in there. We're going to try and do a bit of skateboarding. Lexi is working. She's working full time now that she's finished school for the summer. And Ginger, I don't know what we're going to do with Ginger. We're going to try and do something cool with Ginger. And in amongst all of that, I've got to try and do some work on the tree house, which has bumped up the priority list now that the kids are on school holidays. So plenty to keep me out of trouble. And of course, I've got to try and keep across everything going on over in Germany with Formula One as well. So quite a busy day. It's becoming quite tricky with the kids on school holidays. Because Claire is currently on a kind of working in London on a short-term contract for these next few weeks. I'm kind of full-time daddy daycare, which I love, don't get me wrong. It's a brilliant opportunity that I've been able to coincide some time at home, not travelling with the kids being on school holidays. I love it, but it does mean that it makes it quite tricky to keep up with work. And I'm having to now kind of work in the evenings. And actually I find my most productive time during these spells is kind of between the hours of like midnight and 2 a.m, which I'm sure is not the most healthy, but it's definitely when I find it easier to get stuff done, when the house has gone quiet, everyone's gone to bed, and I can just crack on with stuff that I should have been doing during the daytime. So anyway, that's my day. I hope you guys are all having a brilliant start to the weekend, if you can call it that yet, Friday morning. I hope you have a great day and a great weekend, and I will catch up with you very, very soon. Enjoy the German Grand Prix. Also, news coming out of Germany is that one of the new proposals that have been put to the teams for 2021 is that the rims, wheels, will jump from 13-inch to 18-inch. And therefore will have low profile tyres for the first time in Formula One. What do you think? It's going to look much more like a sort of Formula E tyre in terms of its profile. Not exactly the same, but similar in many regards. What do you think? Should we be moving more in that direction? I guess it brings a little bit of road relevance, but I kind of think that's how a racing or a performance tyre should look. I know we've all got very used to 13-inch rims and these great big balloon F1 tyres, but isn't that pretty dated now? And it'll be a difficult thing to switch over because nobody likes to see a big change all of a sudden from something we've become so comfortable and familiar with. But you know, I kind of think, yes, let's move it forward. Let's move things out of the 70s and 80s and into the future of Formula One. So very quickly, I think we'll get used to it. But what do you think? Like it? Love it? Couldn't give a damn.